Welcome back, everyone, to the Italian Film Buff podcast. How are you doing? I'm doing absolutely well. And today we're going to talk about Rob Reiner. We're going to remember this legendary director. We're going to talk about Wake Up Dead Man and Blue Moon. So let's start this. I have a nice cup of coffee here with me. I hope you have something warm with you because we're going to have a nice ride today. Let's start from Rob Reiner. Rob Reiner, unfortunately, this week we heard about his passing. It wasn't in any shape or form and good news. I mean, every time somebody passes, it's not a good news. But in this case, was tragic because apparently it was murdered by his son, him and his wife, and it's a very tragic passing because Rob Reiner was beloved as a person. Before a director, he was a beloved and respected as a person. He started when he was young. He was working for his father, and he was a brilliant comedic actor, and he was very good at writing, and he was very good, but then he became very good in directing. And he made movies because he loved making movies. And I read an article somewhere that give the perfect perspective on Rob Reiner. I mean, he was the middle ground between somebody who was approaching filmmaking as a craft, so a craftsmanship, and an artist. In his soul, he was an artist because he wasn't the kind of director that he was an auteur. He was not like David Lynch, David Cronenberg, Nolan, Quentin Tarantino, Scorsese. You can name countless. He wasn't that kind of director. But anyway, every time he was approaching a project, he had huge respect and love for that project. And something that we are losing nowadays are those kind of directors that even if don't have a distinguished voice in the way they frame movies, in the way they tell stories, but you can see that they have a great respect for that story and they have a way of storytelling that it's always interesting and nice and and very pleasant to receive, and you learn anyway something. It wasn't an author per se, but he had a way of telling stories in a cinematic form. And unfortunately, losing him, it's one of the worst thing ever. But anyway, he made countless movie, but the first, let's say, decade of his career was insane. And when I say insane, I'm telling something that it's basically every director out there would love to have the kind of career that Rob Reiner had for the first decade of his career. It was insane because he started from This Is Spinal Tap. I'm not going to pretend that I know the movie. I gotta be honest, I never seen it, but I know that the kind of movie that it is. It's basically a mockumentary, so a fake documentary about a metal band. Okay, and basically it's what it is. It's a mockumentary, and back then it was 1984. It was groundbreaking in a way. It was very something very new, something very fresh, and was hilarious for the audience. It was something fantastic. It became a cult movie, and for a debut movie, it's not bad. It's great. It's fantastic. They released a sequel in 2025. I think in the United States was released already. Here in Europe was released in UK and Ireland, I think this summer. I haven't watched it. Honestly, I want to go back and watch the original and then watch the sequel. I'm gonna do this totally. But it's kind of, I don't know, it's kind of sad that the circle is gonna close with This Is Spinal Tap, because I mean, you wanted him to make another great movie, but this is okay as well. It's not sad. Sad is the wrong word. It's just that you go like, oh, okay, seems like he managed to to give one last goodbye to the cinema industry, and it's, I don't know, breaks my heart in a way, but it's also something like it's okay, it's fine. uh, it's like a hug makes sense. But anyway, then he went on in 1985, made Sure Thing. It's an romantic comedy. Honestly, never watch it. It's not one of the movie that I remember. But anyway, from 1986, so basically 2 years after Spinal Tap, he released Stand By Me. I mean, he directed Stand By Me. It's a movie that it's beloved by generation. It's from Stephen King, and it's one of those movies that it's loved by generation because it's able to encapsulate uh, a part of the life of so many people growing up, because it's about those kids. And if I remember correctly, I'm not gonna quote exactly the line from the book and the movie, but basically I remember there was something like, who has friends like, nobody has friends in his life like the friends that you have when you are a kid. It's something like that, and it's very true. I mean, it's a moment in life that it's impossible to replace. It's a moment in life that many new generation, I think, that they're losing, because the way they connect now, it's more through technology and social media. And plus, we live in a moment in time where many people, the majority of people, tend to live in cities, and kids, they don't have the same experience that generation that grew up in the 90s or in the 80s had. I mean, I was going to school, coming back home, and leaving my house again. I was spending so little time in my house. I mean, when I was a kid, I was spending a lot of time outside playing with other kids, and I had many friends, and it was amazing. And I grew up in the countryside, and there were no danger whatsoever. I mean, it was danger. I mean, it wasn't perfect space in time, but it was amazing for a kid. And so many generation had that kind of experience. And Stand By Me, it's like testament to entire generation, the way they grew up. And I think that even for new generation, if you watch Stand By Me and you had a very different childhood, you're gonna say, fuck, my childhood sucked. I think that because it was, of course, it's something that it's from a book, so there are many things that are like, uh, uh, it's not like true life for the whole thing, but it's inspired by how many people grew up when they were kids. And then after that, in 1986, the year I was born, he directed and he released The Princess Bride. And The Princess Bride, it's a priceless movie. It's one of those movies that now would be basically impossible to make, not because of its content, but because the way we approach storytelling in cinemas. I mean, we lost that ability to make movie for kids. Even if you watch one of the most successful movie of this year, speaking of box office, it's a Minecraft movie. And the actual main character of a Minecraft movie are Jason Momoa and Jack Black. Because the two kids in the movie, we don't care about them. It's they are the characters are so thin and are so irrelevant that basically you go to the theater for Jason Momoa and Jack Black. They are basically the main character. And it's insane how Hollywood forget about giving to the kids their own avatar in the movie, someone they can relate. The two kids in a Minecraft movie are basically non-existence. And even if you take something like Sonic, the main character in Sonic is a 40-year-old cop. It's insane. That movie should be for kids. I grew up with Sonic, but I understand that to make a good movie, you gotta put there kids, because yes, in a way you can say, well, the kid is Sonic. Yes, but Spielberg taught us how to make movie, and if you put the kid beside the creature, E.T. or Sonic or whatever, it's gonna be way better, because the kid is gonna say, oh, that's me, that can be me, I could be Sonic best friend. So it's amazing. You should do that. In The Princess Bride, you have, if you never watched it for some reason, basically you have this grandparent telling a story to his son, to his nephew. And of course, it's a fantastic story, it's a fantasy story that has humor, adventure, heroism, and it's a fantastic story. It's very funny. And the thing is that it's a movie that it's very light, but it's very well directed. And today, when they do those kind of movie, they are never well directed. They're full of kind of, they're not cautionary tale for bravery and for friendship. They are cautionary tale for almost adult kind of theme. And sometimes they are very boring. Sometimes they are very obnoxious. Sometimes they are made to make feel good the main character doing the movie, because they have their own kind of morality and stuff like that, and they want to play a character that suit that morality and that message that they want to give. They completely forget about the audience. They completely forget why they're doing the movie. The Princess Bride is a silly, funny, silly in the best way possible, not in as an insult. It's a silly, funny movie, and it's amazing to watch, and I love it. And it's so iconic. I mean, my name is Inigo Montoya. You killed my father. Prepare to die. Everyone knows that, and it's fantastic. A couple of years after, in '89, he made When Harry Met Sally. It's basically a the rom-com movie, one of those movies that are up there. Like, if you think about best rom-com movie ever made, When Harry Met Sally, it was basically a testament about how a relationship between grown up used to work. And I mean, time passed, many things change, but that movie is still a very feel good movie for as a romantic movie. Now, I mean, as if we look at the present, we are so in a way, the rom-com changed so much that they got a little bit bitter. Like, I love, for example, a couple of years back, oh god, I don't remember, it's the director of the Materialist. um, I haven't watched The Materialist yet, I gotta be honest. I still, Celine's song, she made Past Lives. Past Life is sort of a bitter romantic comedy. You can say not probably bitter, but maybe, I don't know, sweet and sour is something that is gonna be uh, that kind of feeling. Is sweet in so many way and is so sour and bitter in some other way. Not in a bad way, but in a way that breaks your heart. And now our movies, kind of romantic movies, are like that. It's like we're losing hope in having a great life or finding someone that understand us. And if we go in the kind of romantic comedy genre, most of the time we go for something very, very, very silly. And Harry Met Sally was not like that. It was a great movie. I think people should watch it now because it's amazing. Misery, another adaptation from Stephen King. This was released in the 1990, so the year next, and he gave a great role to James Caan and Kathy Bates. Kathy Bates, she was amazing in the movie. She made a career out of her role in Misery. She portrayed one of the most interesting villain in the history of cinema, and the movie is great. You gotta watch it. And a couple of years after, in 1992, he adapted this legal drama. He shot this legal drama film written by Aaron Sorkin, and was, yes, an adaptation of the play from the 1989 with Tom Cruise, Jack Nicholson, Demi Moore, Kevin Bacon. Incredible. And it's Kiefer Sutherland, Cuba Gooding Jr., great actors in this movie. It's insane. And it's called A Few Good Men, and it's fantastic. I mean, he made a movie that doesn't make any sense for how well directed and managed it is. It's a legal drama, and it's insane. It's very good. I mean, Rob Reiner gave to cinema so great movie, and this was basically the first 10 years of his career, 10-12 years of his career, and it was a great career. It was a great, fantastic career. And even if the movie that came after are not that great. I gotta be honest, I watch a couple. I haven't watched all of them. I can't talk for all of them, it would be unfair, but I don't think he managed to reach that level of perfection with the movie that he made next. I don't think it was totally his fault. I think that the audience change, Hollywood change, the shift in the kind of movie that people wanted to see change, and Rob Reiner, I think they gave less opportunity to him um, to be one of the most important, because in the 90s there was a huge shift. Tarantino came out, and other director mm, became to rise, and the taste of the audience changed for something else. And I just think he didn't have the opportunity to prove himself again. But anyway, he was in his own way a genius. Speaking of comedy, he was very good in directing. I think it just needed to have uh, the chance to prove himself again. But anyway, he made a fantastic career. He has some of the greatest movie out there. I mean, the first 10 years of his career are one after the other, cult classic, great movies, great performances, super well directed, and it's a shame that he's gone in this way. And if you want to honor him, the only thing you can do is watch his cinema because it's great. But anyway, let's move forward and let's talk about Blue Moon. I went to the cinema to watch this movie. It's a biopic comedy drama by Richard Linklater. He released another movie, at least in the United States. It's called Nouvelle Vague, if I remember correctly. But it wasn't released here, at least it's not out yet, as far as I know. And the movie is written by Robert Kaplow, Blue Moon I'm talking about, and he's inspired by the letter of Lawrence Hart and Elizabeth Wayland. And it talks about, of course, the story of Lawrence Hart. That was basically a great songwriter for Broadway and for, let's say, pop music. In fact, he wrote the lyrics for Blue Moon. There's a song that gives the title to the movie. And the whole thing, the whole movie is this comedy drama about him reflecting on his life, his career, and he's basically the movie takes place a couple of months before his tragic passing, because he had many vices and he had many he was an alcoholic, from what I can understand from the movie. He had many bad vices, and in the way he was living in life basically led to the breakup from his basically colleagues. Richard Rogers, played in the movie by Andrew Scott, that went on, and he was a composer and made the music for Oklahoma. That was one of the, it is still today one of the biggest Broadway production ever made. And he went to compose the music, and with the words written by another writer, and they basically the breakup. And of course, Robert Kaplow, no, sorry, Lawrence Hart. Sorry, I have in front of me the whole information on the movie, and I'm mixing up everything. But anyway, Lawrence Hart, he was a little bit bitter about Oklahoma, because for him was kind of a silly musical. It wasn't that artistic and stuff like that. But anyway, we spend the whole film in this place, in this venue. It's a bar with a piano and with music, where they are doing this after party for the premiere of Oklahoma that became a big success. And there is Ethan Hawke playing Lawrence Hart, Margaret Qualley, and Bobby Cannavale, and of course Andrew Scott. And I love the movie. I love the movie. I think I said this before, I mentioned this before in some other episode, but I love biopic when they take a frame of the life of someone, and they use that to tell who they were. Because I think that I found biopic very boring when they followed the life of someone from the beginning to the end, or to when they explode and became famous or whatever. It's kind of annoying, because it sounds like I think it doesn't make justice even to the person itself, because is they sound, first things first, they sound kind of fake, because they want to give us the impression that those people that were always genius, they were always great. But also they have the problem that they look like, I don't know, when somebody dies and on the newspaper they just give a summary of their whole life, seems something like that. It's not that interesting. But when you take a fragment of the life of someone, a moment that it's very pivotal, interesting, you can tell a lot about the person. You can sum up the whole personality with a fragment in time of that person, and this is it. And I think that you can tell from this story who Lawrence Hart was, that he was brilliant, that he had many demons, that he was a kind of kind of egocentric. You can tell that he was uh, uh, you can tell how many things about this character. And also you can tell that, my personal opinion, I believe that Ethan Hawke is one of the greatest actor alive, and one of the greatest actor of his generation. I mean, in this movie, he's fantastic. I mean, it's one of the best interpretation that I've seen this year. I mean, he's incredible in the movie. You believe totally that he's Lawrence Hart. And as much as Ethan Hawke is great in other movies, as much as is he magnetic and charming, and or scary, wherever it is, as much as it works that good in other movies, as much as you are convinced that he's this insecure, fragile, uh, egocentric, and kind of sometimes even a little bit silly, uh, author. You can believe him. You actually believe him, and he managed to basically keep you interested in the movie for the whole thing. Because when you have those kind of concepts, so a movie in a room, in a place, in one location, you have this thing that every time you watch a movie like this, you go like, I hope it doesn't look like a piece, a theatrical piece. Because many times when they do adaptation from something that went to a theater and they bring it to the cinema, when the director is not that good, the things that he does is basically make look the movie as a piece, so as a theatrical piece. So it doesn't look like an actual movie. It doesn't have the grammar, it doesn't have the rhythm, it doesn't have the kind of vibes that you're actually watching a movie. It doesn't translate very well. But in the case of Richard Linklater, like many other director, you can tell that this is cinema. And even if it's just one location, the storytelling gets very interesting and vibrant. And this is thanks to, I believe, Ethan Hawke's story, the way he acts, the way he tells a story, even with his body, the way he changes his voice, the tone of his voice. It's very kind, it's very gentle. Sometimes it's very silly, sometimes it's very annoying, sometimes it's very arrogant. But the way he changes voice, the way he acts, it's amazing. And I loved as well Margaret Qualley. I believe she's graceful. She's fantastic. Because he's in love with her, and he's convinced, is his own kind of I don't know. He's completely convinced that he can that he can sleep with her. He's totally convinced that he has a shot with her, but we understand that he actually doesn't. It's a little bit delusional. And it's one of those aspects of the life of this character of Lawrence Hart where you can understand that he romanticized too much some aspect of his life, of his art, of his writing, and it's like living in a sort of illusion because he doesn't want to actually live in the real world in a way. He's trying to drink away and live this I don't know, silly, in a way, superficial life in order to shield himself from the actual life of an artist because he's living this idea of this storytelling. He built a storytelling of what an artist should be, that it's like a romanticized version of how we told stories about Scott Fitzgerald and Ernest Hemingway. We thought they had this adventurous and crazy life, and it was amazing. But and he's trying to live this kind of fantasy in a way that's how I read the character, and in this fantasy, in this delusion, he thinks he can get the girl, a girl like Margaret Qualley, but he can't. I mean, to me, it's pretty clear that he can't. And there is a moment when they talk, they have this sort of, they go in another space in this location, and they stay by themselves, and suddenly the dialogue became very very intimate. And she's fantastic. They are both fantastic, but she's amazing. She blew me away. She has a tenderness, grace. Um, she's so gentle in the way she acts. She's amazing because I've seen her in other roles, and she's fantastic in those movies as well. But here she gave something more that I haven't seen in other movies, and I believe she was great. And the same I can tell for Bobby Cannavale. Bobby Cannavale, in the last couple of years, he was kind of stuck in a typecast kind of things. Even in Only Murder in Buildings, they call him to play the same character over and over. But this time around, he plays a guy that managed this bar and is really friendly with Lawrence Hart, and I loved him. I loved him. He's great. He's perfect. I think he's the best thing, one of the best things of the movie. I think the casting of this movie, it's perfect. And they are all great, and they're all good. And I believe that the movie was very brilliant. Very, very brilliant, very amazingly put, and I love it. Absolutely fantastic. You gotta watch Blue Moon. If you haven't watched it, watch it, and then tell me if Ethan Hawke is not one of the best actor of his generation and one of the best actors alive. He doesn't make much noise, but well, he's very good. But anyway, moving forward, I want to talk to you about Wake Up Dead Man, a Knives Out mystery. I gotta make a confession. I wanted to go to the cinema to watch it. I really wanted to go. And here in Dublin, I was lucky enough because it was at the Lighthouse, an amazing cinema that we have here in Dublin. And I had chance to go. I mean, they shown the movie. There was a good schedule for the movie, but unfortunately, around Christmas, everything is crazy with the kid. Me and my wife, we don't have family that lives close to us. We don't have family that can help us. So everything we gotta do, work, personal stuff, plus the kid, we gotta do by ourselves. Nobody's gonna help us. So during the holiday, it's crazy. My son had as well the Christmas play, The Wizard of Oz. One day I had to bring him to the rehearsal, then he had the actual show, and 2 days gone went completely away. So it was very difficult to me to go to a movie theater in that between the end of the November and beginning of December. Sorry, was very crazy. I'm trying to go to see a couple of movies in the next couple of days, but it was crazy, and I regret that I couldn't find a spot to go watch this movie in a movie theater because it's insanely well directed. It's freaking amazing. The way Ryan Johnson directed this movie, it's fantastic. I believe that if you are a young aspiring filmmaker and you want to know how to direct a movie, you gotta take this movie as one of your, not the Bible, but one of your movie that you go like, oh, I want to learn how to direct a movie. This one, this one of the movie that you gotta watch closely and watch continuously over and over again because it's fantastic. And but let's go one thing at a time. Let's start from the top. So Ryan Johnson made this is the third installment of the Knives Out series. I hope he keeps making those movies because I love him. I love the Knives Out series, but I love his whole filmography. We gotta do an episode special on Ryan Johnson because I believe he's a genius, and I believe he's one of the unsung heroes of the modern cinema, of the contemporary cinema. Nobody is giving him enough credit. I believe he's fantastic since his first movie, and since his first movie you can tell that it was perfect to make this series. I'm gonna tell you the actual title because Brick from 2006 2005, sorry, Brick, it's a fantastic movie, and it starred a very young Joseph Gordon-Levitt, and it's an amazing movie. We are gonna talk about that because it's insane. But anyway, Wake Up Dead Man, third installment of the Knives Out series. I loved it, and I love it because you can tell that Ryan Johnson is a big thriller buff. He loves those books. He loves the genre as a reader. He loves the genre as probably a director, a cinema enthusiast. You can tell. And I thank God that they exist because he's doing something that is very opposite to what Hollywood does. And I'm going to explain what I mean. What I mean is that when a movie like Knives Out is out, what happens is this: they go like, make a sequel, make another one, keep making those movies, and you know what they do? They keep making the exact same movie. So they want to just make Knives Out, the first movie, over and over with the same kind of setup, the same kind of casting, the same kind. So they're gonna cast another character that resembles the character played by, I don't know, let me check, Chris Evans. They're gonna cast another character that looks like Ana de Armas. They're gonna do the same thing over and over because they are afraid that the audience is gonna, if you change too much the formula, the audience is gonna fall off the wagon. Okay, this is the general idea. But if you read what in Italy we call giallo, so if you read thriller, Agatha Christie, Sherlock Holmes, stuff like that, Poirot, you know that basically every book, it's different. Every book is a new challenge for the detective. Every book has basically not just a new mystery, not just a new kind of, let's say, a new case, but the whole thing changed because you gotta challenge the detective, you gotta challenge his belief, you gotta use a story to tell to the audience the morality of the detective. Okay, and what he has done is that in the first Knives Out was the classic giallo, the classic thriller. So there is an homicide in a house, the family, who's guilty, why he has done it, how he has done it. It's a classic whodunit. Perfect to kick off the series and to introduce us Benoit Blanc, this detective. The second one brings Benoit Blanc to a different setting. We are stepping into something completely different because we are talking about disruptors. Because it's more, the first was to kick off the series and was a classic. The second one, it's more grounded in our, let's say, reality. So we talk about people that are famous online. We talk about CEO. We talk about the present. We talk about, because it was also perfect for what we were living in that moment in time, because we talk spoiled people that can do whatever they want to do and they can get away with everything. And this is something that Benoit Blanc, as a detective and his own morality, he can't stand. So it doesn't care how powerful, how rich you are, you can't get away with whatever you want to do. And that was perfect, and but was still kind of a silly, um, good time movie parody of the genre, because it was very over the top. For this one, like we have seen with Poirot, played by Branagh, his detective, we go into something that is gonna challenge the belief of the detective. So it's still a kind of a, not a parody per se, but a comedy a comedy, a comedic version of the genre, of the giallo, of the thriller. It's still that kind of things. We have a moment where you laugh, we have a moment where Benoit Blanc is who he is, but at the same time, we challenge his belief. We challenge what he stands for. And so we move into a small town in the state of New York, if I remember correctly, outside the state of New York, where there is this church. And this church is led by a Monsignor played by Josh Brolin. Perfect for the part, perfect, amazingly well casted, well casted. And he's played this Monsignor that he leads this church, and he leads it with fear, because he had just a couple of people that are part of his church and that keep it alive, and he basically had a grasp on them. And they send this young pastor, Josh O'Connor, amazing. I love Josh O'Connor, and it's amazing in their part. And basically he's sent there like for a punishment in a way, because he has to prove himself. And while he's there, this Monsignor get killed, and then the case start. And the thing is that in this case, there is some element that are, let's say, supernatural. There is something that about church and faith and belief that is gonna challenge in a way our detective, but as well is gonna challenge his morality. And it's something that I love as well, because if we check other um, if we look at Sherlock Holmes or even at Poirot, when they look at what it's like, the mystique of something that is religious, they are, first things first, very skeptic, but in a very kind of aggressive way. They dismiss the whole thing with the idea of logic and fact, and they're very aggressive. But with Benoit Blanc, it's not like we go into the fact that he can't believe to those kind of stuff, but he respect those kind of stuff, because what we talk about here, it's a moral question. So the question is, let's talk about faith in general, not just a religious way, but what faith can do. And doesn't matter if you believe it or not, even if you don't believe in God or whatever, there is still space to respect what church can be, what it is, what can do to the people, and to respect their own belief. And this is the fun part. This is where Benoit Blanc, it's more interesting, even if it's a comedy, than detectives like Poirot and Sherlock Holmes, because he respects that. He's not making fun of those beliefs. In some degree, he respects that. And moving on with the case, it's interesting because he has this thing that you can tell that he's getting who did what and how, but you know as well that since the whole thing is wrapped around this idea of faith, he wants to solve this case in order to respect the personal belief of the character played by Josh O'Connor, and the whole character involved, and he wants to respect this idea and what they think it could be absolution for who is guilty, and the way they can come clean, let's say, about what they have done. Because for Bernard Blanc, as we have seen in the two previous movie, because we understood the morality of this detective, he wants to bring to justice the person that is guilty. But that's not the whole point. He is also in love with the fact of solving the mystery, but as well he has a really tender side, a really he has an emotional intelligence that it's really well developed, because at the end of the day, yes, I want to find the guilty person, we have to punish that person, but at the same time he doesn't want to make a spectacle out of it. He wants to do something that it's morally speaking okay, even if it doesn't suit the actual the law of the man, what the whole process of sending somebody to jail, have a confession in a certain way. He wants to respect, first thing first, their own belief and what he believes is right and wrong, and what he believes is justice at the end of the day. And it's very interesting, and I love that. And in this movie we see a lot that side. But it's a movie that is very interesting also because it talks about the idea of the pastor, the idea of faith, the idea of beliefs. And beliefs are not just religious, but it can be also political, can be also more about our morality or whatever it is. Because, of course, with the idea of church, we have something that is very powerful and everlasting and universal. Because church and faith can be something that can lift up people and give you strength and give you hope and give you a tool to face any adversity, okay, to face them and to actually fight back in a way, using your own faith, using the strength that faith gives you to take the best part of yourself and work with those to face adversity, because you're gonna shield by these unbreakable faith, okay? And you can have someone like Josh O'Connor, who is a fighter, he's a former boxer, and he knows what strength is. He knows how to fight, but he knows as well that the meaning of church and faith is supposed to be something that helps people, lifts up people, and it's not always giving a fight, okay? But at the same time, we have a character like Josh Brolin that, in the same way as many people in politics, the same way as many people on social media, the same way as many people out there, you can call them gurus, whatever, there are so many people out there that can fit that kind of description. He's a man that is using faith and beliefs to basically impose himself on others and to take a place of power in their heart with fear. Faith and belief are not to lift up people, but are just to center power to him, are to scare people, are to conquer people. And something that is being said at some point in the movie is that you took those brilliant, talented, smart, amazing people, and you take everything that was good about them, you destroy that, and you turn them in the worst version of themselves. And they are full of hate, they are full of regret, they are fearful, they are mean, they are they are worst people, just because he used fear, he used I don't know, he used everything that he had in order to make them slave of his own word. And anyone that wasn't fitting that description, he was cast away. Everyone that was not useful to his way of keep this church alive was cast away. Okay? You need to be into this tight circle of people that can lift me up. as a pastor, because the idea, the narration of the reality is that reality is scary, reality uh, is your enemy. Everybody wants to bring you down. But if you follow me, if you follow this pastor that is giving this idea of strength, of someone that can fight back, you're gonna survive. You're gonna thrive because you need someone willing to fight back, to be strong, to do something that the weak people won't do, that is fight back in order to survive. But you are dependent from him. And this fits the narration that we have nowadays in politics, on social media, and it's out there everywhere. And those people, those pastors, they want to use faith, they want to use personal belief, they want to use those stuff not to lift up people, but to turn them into mindless follower. People that have no personality, people that are just full of fear, they are fearful, they are scared, they are not courageous, they are not investing in their best quality, they are not, they have no grace, they have no ability to fight back adversity with honor. They live a life of a zero-sum game where they have to win and everybody else has to lose, and everybody else is mean and is bad, and they gotta just respect this figure that is the pastor. And this is incredibly fitting what we are living every day. Okay, and it's great. I believe he managed to make no specific reference to anybody out there. He's not making any reference to specific politician. Is not making specific reference to influencer, web personality, or whatever. But he's talking about them, and he's describing the fact that we live in a world of follower that are annihilating their own will or personality in order to follow someone that is just gaining power through our fear and for what makes us weak, instead of giving us and helping us what the church is supposed to do with Josh O'Connor, what he wants to do to lift up people and give them hope, give them a space to be understood and listen, and to help them to overcome adversity through faith, and not just to be a victim that needs a strong leader to avenge them and then be slave of this whole system. And I think it's fantastic. I think the movie is very brilliant. And beside that, even if you don't take that in consideration, it's a very good whodunit. It's brilliant in the part where the comedy is there. I mean, what it's amazing about those movies that every time the case can be even silly, because it's not very important who actually done it and how done it. It's part of the thing, but it's more interesting the whole morality behind the story, how you reach the conclusion and what the movie is trying to tell. But mostly it's interesting, all these elements, they come together through the story, through the characters, and it's interesting how the story is told, because at the beginning the movie uses a way, in many cases, in the classic giallo, in the classic thriller, the detective is being contacted by someone and through a letter, and here this element is kind of reinvented in a way that makes the story way more compelling. Okay, and the way Benoit Blanc show up, it's very funny, but it's very also interesting, because the whole thing, it's about the connection between Benoit Blanc and the main characters that are Josh O'Connor and partially Glenn Close and Josh Brolin, and they are all amazing. Josh O'Connor is fantastic, as much as and is charming and romantic in other movies, as much as is you have a sense that he's caring and and he's in a way scared to fall back into some stuff that in a way ruin his life. And as much as Glenn Close, sorry, she's amazing in the movie as well. She is fantastic in doing this character, that she's doing everything for the church, but as well she has something in her past that it's really heavy, and it's connected to the character of Josh Brolin. That is insane. You hate Josh Brolin so much in this movie. I mean, you can understand this mean, ill spirited. He's really bad. I love as well Mila Kunis, Jeremy Renner, Kerry Washington, Andrew Scott, Celine Spiney, Daryl McCormack, Thomas Hayden Church. But in this time around, the rest of the cast is very secondary. That they are not actually as important for the story as Josh O'Connor, Glenn Close, and Josh Brolin. They are the very main character with Benoit Blanc, and I love how they interact with him. But I mean, the way they build the story around them that connects with the case, it's amazing. I think that Ryan Johnson is a very brilliant storyteller, also on a cinematic level. As I was saying at the beginning, the movie, it's insane. It's very well shot. I mean, there is not a single frame that it's like, well, yeah, that's just a shot of Benoit Blanc walking in. Every frame is important. Every frame is a painting. I love one thing. I don't know. I have to watch a behind the scene. I would like to know more about how they shot the movie. But one thing that it's very interesting, and that it's very difficult in filmmaking and in photography. Who's the director of photography of this movie? Cinematography, Steen Yedlin. I mean, they did a great job. They did a great job because at some point he was the director of photography for Glass Onion and Knives Out as well, Star Wars: The Last Jedi, Looper. I'm happy. Oh, they work together. They go back a long time. The Brothers Bloom, almost all of them. Brick as well. Oh, so they've been together for ages. They've done an amazing job because in this movie, you have many scenes inside the church as well, where you have the sun shining and coming in from the windows, those amazing windows in the church, and brightening everything up. And then this thing that makes sense even with what's happening on screen and what they're talking about. And then the lights goes out and everything gets darker. And how they manage the cinematography to be consistent. Of course, they studied, they planned this thing, but it's amazing because it's not that easy to do. I mean, changing lights condition is one thing that annoys the most director of photography. I live in Ireland and I know as well, nobody wants to shot when it's sunny because sunny it's very, sun it's out there, then suddenly there's a cloud because it's very windy and sun is no more, it's dark again. For consistency for the images, when you have to shot for long period of time, can be super annoying. In this case is engineered, I think, to be like this, and it's very well done. But except for that, there are so many moments where the photography and the way everything is framed that it's fantastic. It tells you something about the location, about the story, about the mood, as much as is kind of cozy Knives Out, as much as is vibrant Glass Onion, as much as is dark and kind of gives you a sense of, I don't know, muddy and and kind of bleak sometimes, this movie. But at the same time, there is a discussion in the church between Josh O'Connor and Daniel Craig. I love Daniel Craig, he's amazing. But anyway, there's a discussion between the two of them, and they talk about the church. Benoit Blanc was like, oh, I love the design of the church. But Josh O'Connor said, well, this has more in common with Disneyland than with an actual historical architecture. Because, of course, I mean, the most old church in the world are in Europe. What they have built in the United States is something that is way more modern. It's sort of Yeah, Disneyland anyway. It's not like that there is a church that was built, I don't know, when the Pope was still, I don't know, in France. It's not something like that. It's not with a gigantic historical value. It's a mockery of what they have done in Europe or in England. Well, Europe, England is same thing. But anyway, you you get what I'm saying. But anyway, I love the fact that uh, they kind of talk about how they're kind of creating this sort of uh, setup in a way. It's not like the movie is actually bleak and dark. It's like the situation it is, whatever they're trying to tell. And at the same time, there are those shots amazing where Josh Brolin is on the pulpit. How it is in English, I don't know. But anyway, he's doing his pitch, and you can see for how it's framed on the top of the church there are those angels like with swords or something like that. And but I couldn't tell, because what you could see mainly is that they have those beam of light on their faces and they are kind of menacing. And I think they've done that because this is the whole thing. Josh Brolin is the church is never bright except from some specific moment. It's always bleak, because the idea is that the faith is an element of fear and intimidation, and the fact you have those lights shining just on the face of those angels gives completely another different interpretation, as much as stuff like the missing cross and stuff like the whole backstory of this Monsignor played by Josh Brolin, the way it's framed, the way it's shot, and the way we see how this backstory can be uh, told by different account. It's very interesting because in one the way was tell the story, the way the story is told by someone makes it more kind of uh, goes into darker places, kind of almost supernatural, almost kind hellish. And the photography, the way it's shot, the way it's framed is fantastic. You have those details on the eyes, the cuts of lights, they're amazing. And then you have the same tale told in a different way, and you're even if are the same things in a way, not everything, but the way it's framed, the way some detail change gives you a different feeling. But also the ideas, the visual idea, the visual reference that gives you framing stuff are completely are amazing, are brilliant. And I love the movie. It's amazingly well directed. I think that during the holiday I'm gonna rewatch all the whole thing, Knives Out, Glass Onion, and Wake Up Dead Man, because I think it was brilliant. I think it's fantastic. And I said, and I keep on saying this, but I think that Rian Johnson is one of the most brilliant director and storyteller out there. I mean, he made, if we check his filmography from 2005, that is his directorial debut, to 2025, we Wake Up Dead Man. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 movies. Probably the weakest one is The Last Jedi, but I think that he had so many brilliant ideas in that movie, and I think that the next movie by J.J. Abrams proved that The Last Jedi was way better than what we had right after. But anyway, except from probably The Last Jedi, that it's still brilliant in some ideas, I can't see a movie made by Rian Johnson that you can say, oh, it's a weak movie. They are all amazing. Even The Last Jedi in some part. I'm not a big Star Wars fan, so I don't count in that. I can't speak about that too much, but I believe Brick is brilliant. The Brothers Bloom is brilliant. Looper is a brilliant science fiction movie. I think it's way underrated. I think it's very interesting. Knives Out, Glass Onion, Wake Up Dead Man, they are fantastic as well. Wait, Glass Onion, you can say, oh, I prefer Knives Out to Glass Onion, I prefer Wake Up Dead Man to Glass Onion, but it's not a bad movie. At the end of the day, it's not like it's bad. If we talk about the genre of those giallo thriller that came back after Knives Out, I believe it's still one of the best out there. I mean, it's insane. And the thing that I gonna say is that he wrote every single movie. He is also a very brilliant screenwriter, and I love him. But anyway, what do you think about Wake Up Dead Man? Let me know. Have you watched Blue Moon? This is my opinion on both of the movies. That was my homage to Rob Reiner. I hope you're going to celebrate Christmas rewatching a couple of his movies. I think The Princess Bride is perfect for the Christmas period. And anyway, let me know what do you think. Leave a comment, vote the podcast, review the podcast, share it. See you next time. Bye.